In this video I will talk about skin pigmentations. Pigmentation means coloring. Your skin gets its color from a pigment called melanin. Special cells in the skin make melanin. The sun. Variations in human skin color are adaptive traits that correlate closely with geography and the sun's ultraviolet radiation. The sun's ultraviolet radiation has UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA is what we are most used to and affects people across Earth. UVB is specifically targets people close to the equator, and UVC is completely stopped by the Earth's ozone layer. So originally all people were darkly pigmented, and this was about 2 million to 1.5 million years ago. UVB, as I mentioned before, is present only close to the equator, because further from the equator the UVB rays are stopped by the ozone layer. Back 1.5 million to 2 million years ago, melanin was the natural sunscreen, but it is no longer a natural sunscreen because people have migrated throughout the world and eventually it lost its strength. People also became lightly pigmented through this migration because people moved further away from the equator, so they were no longer hit by the UVB rays, which allowed for lighter skin pigmentation. So I agree that skin pigmentation does not have any correlation to intelligence. Skin pigmentation is based on proximity to the equator, and as I mentioned before, the UVB rays will only go close to the equator, and UVB rays will not go to parts of the world that are not close to the equator, such as Antarctica. And UVC rays will be completely stopped by the ozone layer, and lastly UVA rays will reach the Earth at all points. So the main differences between people are within groups, not through different groups. So the differences between humans and chimpanzees is about 2%. The greatest difference between other humans is 0.01%, I believe. And 90% of this is differences within the same groups. Only 5% of that 0.01% or 0.1% is based on differences from different groups. So this shows that the changes the differences between people is not from someone from Antarctica compared to Africa as much as the difference between two Antarctic people or two African people or two South or North American people. Any gene associated with intelligence typically found due to mutations causing lower intelligence. So it shows that it's not race, it is actually a mutation such as a neural connection, brain chemistry, or behavior. So I disagree with skin pigmentation having no correlation to climate. The climate is usually warmer closer to the equator, so in a warmer climate you'll be close to the equator. Close to the equator means that you will have UVB rays, and people in warmer climates tend to be outside more, while people from the northeast tend to be inside during the cold December months, while people in Brazil will be outside the entire time. So they will have more exposure to the sun and more exposure to the sun rays. And lastly, this is my right-sided page.